Israel Yom HaZikaron memorial ceremony begins now. This year's ceremony commemorating Israeli fallen soldiers and victims of terror attacks will be based on a traditional Israeli ceremony. Recent coronavirus lockdown confines us to an online ceremony, which is indeed a limited format. Nevertheless, we still believe it is capable of conveying a powerful feeling of communal unity with Israel and warm embrace of our local families who lost their loved ones in Israeli wars and terrorist attacks. In a few minutes, we will hear a siren, we will pray and sing and mourn. We will hear stories of fallen soldiers and honor bereaved family members from our own community. This is a simple and solemn ceremony dedicated solely to the Israeli victims of terror and soldiers who fell defending Israel. My Israel, your Israel, our Israel. During the ceremony, you will be asked to rise and sit a number of times. You, of course, may choose to stand or express your respect in any other meaningful way at home. The Jewish community of Southern New Jersey bows its head and unites with the memory of the fallen soldiers and victims of terror, and with the mourning of the bereaved families. I ask you to stand as the national flags of Israel and the United States are presented by the honor guards. Please remain standing for the siren of silence. The siren is 1 minute long. In Israel, everyone ceases to engage in any activity such as work or travel, and they stand silently in their place. Along with the siren, a video of a minute of silence from Israel will be shared on the screen. Please remain standing and join me in reciting the Yizkor Remembrance Prayer. This Yizkor is special to Yom HaZikaron. Yizkor Am Yisrael et banav uvnotav, הנאמנים והאמיצים, חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל, וכל לוחמי המחתרות וחטיבות הלוחמים ומערכות העם, וכל אנשי קהיליית המודיעין והביטחון ואנשי המשטרה ושירות בתי הסוהר, אשר חירפו נפשם במלחמה על תקומת ישראל, וכל אלה שנרצחו בארץ ומחוצה לה, בידי מרצחים מארגוני הטרור. יזכור ישראל ויתברך בזרעו, ויאבל על זיו העלומים, וחמדת הגבורה וקדושת הרצון, ומסירות הנפש אשר נספו במערכה הכבדה. יהיו חללי מערכות ישראל, עטורי הניצחון, חתומים בלב ישראל לדור דור. The audience may be seated. I invite Jennifer Weiss, CEO of the Jewish Federation of Southern New Jersey, to say a few words.
Good evening, and thank you for being a part of our community Yom HaZikaron ceremony commemorating fallen Israeli soldiers and victims of terror. The Jewish Federation of Southern New Jersey is committed to sustaining the strong state of Israel. Israel is our homeland, our happy place, our place to turn when there is no other place to call home. Trips to Israel demonstrate to all how deep our love is. Walk along the beach in Tel Aviv, spending Shabbat at the wall in Jerusalem, the sights, the sounds, the smells. Israel embraces us all. We realize all of this comes at a cost. That cost is human life. Those whose shoulders we stand on, who brought us to the land and provided us with experiences which have enriched and saved so many. Today, we remember those who have been lost or hurt by such loss. We thank them and show them the gratitude we have in our hearts and in our minds. This evening, you will hear stories about the victims who have been lost and about the importance of keeping their memories alive. This morning, while reading some news, I was touched by one such story. Noam's uncle was killed in Lebanon in 1982. Many, many years before she was born. While growing up and in high school, Noam began to think about her Army service. And when the time came, she applied to be a bereaved family liaison, non-commissioned officer. Today, at age 19, Noam works with bereaved families through her work in the IDF. She coordinates support groups, events for survivors, and family survivors to come together. She does all of this in memory of her uncle, whose sacrifice, along with tens of thousands of others, she keeps alive through her work. Today, Noam's work is made more difficult because of the coronavirus and the inability for people to gather in person or have visitors in their homes. Noam, like our community, is finding other ways to observe Remembrance Day virtually, helping each other during this time. Keeping memories alive and standing up for what is right will strengthen Israel and all who are blessed to call her home. I want to thank our senior community Shaliach, Arkady Hasidovich, and everyone involved in tonight's program. Israel has been made stronger by numerous human sacrifice and incidences of terror, for which there is no rationalization. May their memories always be for a blessing.
Please rise for the El Maleh Rachamim prayer recited by Chazan Aryeh Yarimi.
El Maleh Rachamim Shochen Merumin Hamtze Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei HaShekhinah במעלות קדושים טהורים וגיבורים כזר הרקיע מזהירים לנשמת חיילי צה"ל לישראל ולא לוחמי המחתרות שנפלו במלחמות ישראל, וכל הלוחמים במערכותם שחירפו נפשם למות על קידוש השם ובעזרת אלוהי מערכות ישראל הביאו לתקומת האומה והמדינה ולגאולת הארץ ועיר האלוהים, וכל אלה שנרצחו בארץ ומחוצה לה בידי המרצחים בארגוני הטרור. לכן ועל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. אדוני הוא נחלתם בגן עדן תחל מנוחתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימים, ונאמר אמן.
The audience may be seated. It is an Israeli tradition to read quotes from symbolic letters written by bereaved family members to their fallen soldiers. These letters shed a light on their grief, coping, and hope. Two quotes from these letters will be read by teen honor guards from our community, Leah Spector and Yossi Linetsky.
Corporal Tzahi David died on 9/11. Tzahi David was a fighter at the Israeli Border Police. Days before he was killed, while on vacation at his home, he celebrated his 19th birthday and asked his mother to bake him a birthday cake so he could bring it to his friends who stayed at the base. With the cake, he returned to his base and his friends and commanders threw him a birthday party. The joy was great and Tzahi was happy. When it became clear to him that his fellow guards at the base gate did not receive a cake, he went down to bring them their share. Two Palestinian snipers who ambushed him in the dark shot and killed him and another soldier, Sergeant Andrei Zeldkin. This happened on the day of 9/11 terrorist attacks in the US. The following passage is a letter written by Naama David, sister of Tzahi. On 9/11, the world has changed. On 9/11, my world was destroyed. Here comes another memorial of Yom HaZikaron. You and I are together in the coffin. You are without words, and I'm with too many. Because how can it be that you were born before me, and I'm bigger than you already? Because how could everything have changed? I grew up and learned. I fell in love and got disappointed. I got drafted and released, flew away and returned, and you stayed and did not have time for that. You are young and pure, beautiful and eternal, my Tzahi. Every day that passes brings with it a word, a line, a page in my diary, and it brings one more thing, longing for you.
Staff Sergeant Ron Remo Rottenberg fell on 7th of July, 1999, when he was 22 years old. Ram served as a tank crewman, volunteering to the most dangerous missions behind the enemy lines, protecting Israeli northern border. On July 10th, 1999, Ram fell during operational activity in Lebanon, just 1 month before the end of his military service. Says Udi Rottenberg, brother of Ram, also known as Remo, wrote this letter for his brother. My Remo, I write to you with longing, write to you with tears. I also write with pleasure, the pleasure of memories. So mighty, so impressive. With your head held high in your khaki uniform, I remember our conversations. I am your younger brother. Sometimes we would talk about nothing important, and sometimes we would not talk at all. And sometimes I would get a big brother's advice for a kid on how to become a man. Udi, when will you grow up already? You ask sometimes. So here I am, Remo. I grew up, or at least that's what they say. I already wore my khaki uniform, and I already took it off. But somewhere I remain the same child, still waiting for your advice. 10 long years have passed since that awful morning. 10 years you no longer have dreams. 10 years you haven't tried to fulfill them. So much has changed, but the world keeps on turning. I wish I could tell you a little bit about the things that have happened and plan things that will happen, but you won't be there.
On the day of HaZikaron, we also commemorate victims of terror attacks. In 1978, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, carried out one of the deadliest terrorist attacks against Jewish civilian population. The Coastal Road Massacre was an attack involving hijacking of a tour bus on Israel's coastal highway, in which 38 Israeli civilians, including 13 children, were killed, and 71 were wounded. One of the victims was Haviv Ankava, who was on the bus with his family and heroically volunteered to translate and negotiate between the hijackers and Israeli security forces. He was shot delivering the message. Two of his children, Yitzhak, 10 years old, and Galit, 2.5 years old, were also killed. Haviv's wife, Monique, and their other two daughters, Anat and Tali, were injured but survived. Today, we have with us Mati Argano, Haviv's niece, who now lives in South Jersey, to share her memories from that tragic day.
My uncle Haviv Ankava, may he rest in peace, was born in Morocco in 1940. At the age of 12, he was placed in the Negba ship along with other teenage kids and headed to Israel. His parents and siblings would leave Morocco at later years. At age 18, he joined the Israeli army and was stationed in the Navy. Later, he married and lived in Eilat, where he worked as a bus driver for Egged. They moved to Haifa, where he continued his work. In the evening of March 11, 1978, I remember when complete darkness fell on my hometown, Yokneam. We immediately knew that something was wrong. After learning from the news that a bus of family members of Egged that was on its way back from the day trip was hijacked by the terrorists, my mom had a bad feeling that her brother Haviv and his family were in that bus. We later learned that Haviv and his two children, Yitzhak 10 and Galit 2, died from the attack, and his wife and two daughters are injured. His wife Monique never remarried and passed away a few years ago. His two daughters, Anat and Tali, grew up to be as successful, served in the army, and have their own families. Haviv was a dedicated and loving husband, father of four, son, brother, and uncle. He would have been very proud of the legacy he left. The family will never forget him and his kids.
Thank you. The last war is a song by a renowned Israeli singer, Yoram Gaon. It is the story of a father who pledges to his little girl on behalf of all his brothers in arms that this will be the last war. The song is performed for us live by Chazan Alisa Pomeranz-Borough, Congregation Bethel.
אני מבטיח לך, ילדה שלי קטנה, שזאת תהיה המלחמה האחרונה. אני מבטיח לך, ילדה שלי קטנה, שזאת תהיה המלחמה האחרונה. בשם כל הטנקיסטים ופניהם המובהקות, אשר עברו את כל האש והשחיקות, בשם הימאים אשר פשטו על הנמלים, ועיניהם כבדות ממלח וגלים, אני מבטיח לך, please join me, ילדה שלי קטנה, שזאת תהיה המלחמה האחרונה. אני מבטיח לך, ילדה שלי קטנה, שזאת תהיה המלחמה האחרונה. אמן.
Thank you. I invite Rabbi Mandy Mengel, Rabbi of Chabad of Cherry Hill, to say a few words.
Yashakarach Arkadi, must begin with me, Ani Imani. I'm honored and humbled to be able to share a few words at the Yom HaZikaron of Hey Tafshin Pei 2020. Tafshin Lamed Vav 1976, a group of injured soldiers came to America to visit some sites. And of the locations that they came to visit was 770 Eastern Parkway, the Lubavitch World Headquarters, and the Rebbe asked they would like to have a private meeting with these injured soldiers. And at that talk, the Rebbe suggested that instead of them being called the Chei Yisrael, the invalids, the injured of the Jewish people, they should be called the Mitzuyone Yisrael, the most exceptional, the best of what we have. And if that is true for those that are injured, how much more so is for those Kedoshim V'Tahirim, those pure and sacred souls who have given their lives to protect Eretz Yisrael, Eretz HaKodesh, our holy land of Israel. In the Torah in Parshas B'Chokaisai, God says as follows, words that have become songs over the ages, many, many different tunes composed to those words. Zacharti es b'nisi Yaakov, I will remember the covenant that I've made to Jacob. Va'af es b'nisi Yitzchak, and so too the covenant to Isaac. Va'af es b'nisi Avraham Esker, and I'll also remember the covenant that I've made to Abraham. Rashi, the basic principle and commentary on the Torah, asks an obvious question. Why is it that by Abraham and Jacob, he uses the word memory? However, by the Isaac, he does not use the word memory, just as I will remember Isaac. And Rashi responds, because Afrado shel Yitzchak nidel lefnei tzibur umunach al gabi hamizbeach. Because the ashes of a man, Isaac, who was willing to get on the Akedah, on the ark, to sacrifice his life for the sake of Judaism and its values, is not relegated merely to memory. It stands at the forefront, in front of God at all times. The Mesiras Nefesh, the self-sacrifice Of these 23,816 pure souls who have given of their lives literally, ripped away from their families, from their fathers and from their mothers, from their brothers and their sisters, and sometimes from their sons and their daughters. They don't need us to remember them. They need us to remember what they lived for and what they died for. They lived and loved Avas Hashem, the love of God, Avas HaTorah, the love of our Torah, and Avas Yisrael, the love for one another. I asked my nephew, Label Mangel, the son of a Chabad rabbi in Cincinnati, Ohio, who volunteered and went to the army and served in a brigade. I asked him, Label, what would you like me to convey today? And I'd like to read to you what he wrote. My outlook is that what makes our soldiers heroes is not the single act of jumping in the grenade. It is the way they lived until that moment of truth. It is a lifelong attitude of selflessness and caring for others that allow them to make such an incredible sacrifice on behalf of our people. If we want to truly honor their sacrifice, we will follow in their footsteps of life, carry on their legacy. The military cemetery isn't a place where we bury our dead soldiers. It is a place that the best and the most selfless amongst us live on. My friends, we must learn from and pay tribute to these 28,816 unique Kedoshim and Tehodim pure souls. We must pledge to them to continue on in our lives, to live the way they were treated of their lives, devoted to Am Yisrael, Toras Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. Yiskereim Belakenu L'Teva, may God remember them, Imshar Tzadikei Elam, together with the righteous of all the generations, V'yinuach B'shalom Amishkavam V'neimer Amen. Let them rest in peace, and let us say Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yehuda Harrison was a gifted Israeli flute player, father of 7. At the age of 50, while volunteering as a police officer at the Independence War, Yehuda was deadly wounded by a shell in Jerusalem, just 3 weeks after the Declaration of Independence. Nitzan Haroz, Yehuda's grandson, who inherited his grandfather's musical talent and is now the principal trombone for the Philadelphia Orchestra, will read Misha Berach prayer for the IDF soldiers. At the usual ceremony, we would read a Kaddish, but because Kaddish requires a minyan of at least 10 people at the same place, we will instead read a special prayer called Misha Berach L'Chayalei Tzahal. This prayer is read before the Shabbat Musaf service and dedicated specifically to the well-being of the IDF soldiers. For the Misha Berach prayer recited by Nitzan Haroz, please rise.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ואנשי כוחות הביטחון העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה ביבשה, באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון. ויקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם, ונאמר אמן.
Amen. You may be seated. Albert Avraham Ochayon was born in Morocco in 1953 and made Aliyah to Israel with his parents when he was 2 years old. Albert grew up in the town of Beit Shean and began his military service in 1970 as a paratrooper. Just before being drafted, he gave all his earnings and savings from his work at the factory to his parents. Albert was 20 years old when he fell in a battle over the Suez Canal. This was one of the most costly and brutal but also decisive battles of the Yom Kippur War. Albert's great-nephew, Omer Doar, has recently graduated from Cherry Hill High School East and followed his great-uncle's journey to Israel in order to serve in the IDF as a lone soldier, just like his sister Maya did 7 years ago. Omer sent us a video message from his base in the IDF.
Hi, my name is Omer Dar, and I was born on May 2nd, 2001. I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey my whole life and graduated from Cherry Hill East High School in June of 2019. I made Aliyah 8 months ago in order to serve my country and do what I believe is right. I drafted as a combat soldier in Golani, and 2 months later went to medics course to now be a combat medic in Golani. I made Aliyah because I wanted to do something very meaningful and have Albert look down on me. Albert was my grandmother's brother, who was a paratrooper in the IDF, who got killed in the Yom Kippur War. Although I'm not a paratrooper, I still believe that he is watching me and is proud of all my hard work. My service to Israel is extremely important to me because I felt the need to give back and protect what belongs to us.
I invite Raya Gonen, a renowned Israeli-American opera singer from Cherry Hill, to perform the next song by Ofra Haza, Mishu Olech Tamid Iti, Someone Always Walks With Me.
היו ימים חמים ימי בצורת, פניי יבשו כסדק אדמה, צדיק עמל ולא נותר לצורת, שאלתי לחשתי בשלמה, החורף שוב היכה בצורך אחרת, והמבט כה סברי בשתי עיניי, ומספרי קירות גבעת העצב, שאלתי לחשתי עד מתי, אך לדרך עם רוח ערב, הלב אשר לו על גג ביתי, אני יודעת, אני שומעת, מישהו הולך תמיד איתי, אך לדרך עם רוח ערב, הלב אשר לו על גג ביתי, אני יודעת, אני שומעת, מישהו הולך תמיד איתי.
Thank you. I invite Rabbi Brian Wexler, Temple Beth Shalom, to say a few words.
Erev Tov. Tonight, we may be physically distant, but we are spiritually close. Tonight, we are connected not only to our brothers and sisters in our South Jersey Jewish community, but also to our brothers and sisters in Israel and around the world, as we gather together to honor more than 23,000 soldiers who have died defending our beloved homeland, the state of Israel, as well as more than 3,000 victims of terror. In Psalm 20, verse 2, we read, Yancha Adonai biyom tzara, may God answer you in your time of trouble. A midrash, a rabbinic story from Midrash Tehillim on this verse presents a parable of a father and a son out walking. Growing tired, the son asks his father where the city is, to which the father answers, my son, when you see a cemetery before you, then you will know that the city is close. It is tempting to read despair and grief into this story. When you see a cemetery before you, when you are confronted by the symbol of death and loss, then you will know that you have arrived at the city which is built on such loss. However, today on Yom HaZikaron, Our tradition calls on us to summon the strength to say that seeing the cemetery is not the symbol of despair, but rather a symbol of hope. Hope that the city is close. Hope that as we continue the journey, better days await us. Each December, on the last days of our TBS and Bethel 10th grade confirmation trip to Israel, there are two things that we do that remind me of this midrash and of the answer that the Father gives to his sons. First, we visit Har Herzl, Israel's military cemetery in Jerusalem. We visit the graves of fallen soldiers and of prominent past leaders of Israel, and we share stories of sacrifice, of heroism, of dreams, and of hopes. We explain to the teens that we have spent the last 2 weeks together exploring the beauty and magnificence of Israel, the land, the people, the religion, the culture. And it's all thanks to these brave men and women that gave their lives so that we can be here, so that we can continue to call Israel our home and have sovereignty in the land. And the second thing that we do as a group before returning to the US is we always plant a tree. We plant a tree and dedicate it to our loved ones, past, present, and future. We plant a tree that we hope from which people will enjoy its fruits many years in the future, long after we ourselves are gone. In planting that tree, we lay down roots, just like all those we gathered together to honor tonight laid roots for us, giving their lives to ensure that we can always continue to say, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people live. Zichronam livracha, may God guard their souls and may their memories always be for a blessing.
Thank you, Rabbi. I invite Dr. Neil Levine, President of the Jewish Federation of Southern New Jersey, to lay a symbolic wreath of remembrance on behalf of the communal organizations.
The book of Proverbs, Mishle, teaches us to remember the discipline and teachings of our parents, as they are a graceful wreath upon your head. In Israel, laying of wreaths on behalf of communal organizations traditionally marks the conclusion of the memorial ceremony. This evening, as we are secluded in our homes, we will lay one symbolic wreath in the names of the following people and organizations: the bereaved families, Jewish Federation of Southern New Jersey, Jewish Community Relations Council, Tri-County Board of Clergy and the Vad HaRabbanim, Jewish Day Schools and Hebrew Schools, Jewish Youth Movements, and Jewish War Veterans.
Thank you. For Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, led by Chazan Neil Schnitzer, please rise.
Tonight, I ask you all, though we cannot be together to sing together, I ask that you sing with me and look forward to the day when we can sing together.
We would like to thank all the volunteers and donors who helped us bring this important event to the community tonight. Thank you for joining us to honor the memories of those lost in battle and to terrorism in Israel. The Israel Yom HaZikaron memorial ceremony has concluded.